He'd be the first to tell you that too much sunlight's bad for your health. Here's your look at the new Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Color Change Zartan. This Zartan figure comes ready for action with multiple points of articulation for high posability and 13 character-inspired accessories. And with custom artwork by Tom Whalen and Derek Ring, the G.I. Joe Classified Series Master of Disguise Zartan package will make a mark on the shelves. First, I'd like to thank the folks over at Hasbro for kindly providing this sample of the brand new color change Zartan that we could have a look at here on this channel. I don't normally do this because half the time I just keep it to the turntable, but the packaging is too cool to pass on. We're going to just move over Zartan. I want to bring in the packaging that comes included with the figure. Let's just bring the camera up a little bit so you can see everything that's going on. While the familiar artwork here is on the back, the real star of this show is when you spin the packaging around. You can see there's Zartan standing there. Now, with that, there's also this spinning disc gimmick where you can spin the disc and it starts as Zartan. And as you continue to spin it on this side, you can see it changes his different various looks. And I think that's fantastic, the fact that they were able to do that. Of course, the gimmick also on this figure is the fact that he does have the color change option, which I couldn't help but notice as I'm reviewing this guy, even just the few moments in, that he's already starting to darken the color, and it might have something to do with the hot studio lights that we're using. So you may, in fact, even see him color change as this review progresses. Having a look at the figure's accessories. Some of the accessories I've already taken the liberty of adding on to the figure. You'll see what I mean right now. I did take the hooded area and I put it over top of his head, and I actually took the little scarf area. These are things that come out of the packaging off the figure. So to show you the full effect, I suppose it would be helpful to take the head off, the ball joint off. There we go. And we can remove the scarf piece. As I said, this is just a soft plastic. It technically is opened on the back side, so you really don't even need to remove the head in order to get that onto him, but I just find it so much easier that way. Then you can go ahead, take the head sculpt and pop that back onto the ball peg. And then from there, we can go ahead and put the hood back on. A lot of the elements of Zartan here are carryover from the original G.I. Joe Classified Series Zartan that we looked at a long time ago, actually. And again, I love the fact that they incorporated the color change gimmick, which the original Zartan didn't have the benefit of having. Let's put the figure down here for 1 second. Don't worry, we will be going back to that in a second. Okay, let's run through all the things that come included with the figure. Now, he does come included with a backpack, which I believe did come included also with that original release. And like the original release, it does open up. It's 2 halves of a hole, and we just open that up on the inside. Not only will that house one of the masks, but you also see some rather very intricate looking sculpting that they sculpted on the inside of the backpack too. It attaches by these pegs on the top and pegs on the bottom, and they fit obviously into those holes there. And that can close up like that. And then of course that will fit onto his back. Not everything is completely lined up, though, the armor that he has over top of his torso, but if you kind of get the backpack in on a slight angle, it seems to be able to fit into that hole okay, like that. And then you can display the figure like this. There's a couple also pegs on the sides of the backpack, which we'll talk more about in a second. We'll put that back down. The figure also comes included. Let's get his feet to be completely flat here. There we go. I have to compensate for the fact he does have the heavier backpack now on his torso. He does come with what seems almost like a sniper rifle. A very super advanced sniper rifle. It does have the little bottom part that can lift up, and actually does have, what's neat, is a removable sniper, or removable silencer for the sniper. Just take that right off. It doesn't seem to be a place anywhere on his backpack that can fit that, so I think once you've removed that, you really have to kind of keep it loose and separate without running the risk of losing it. But he, like I said, he does come included with this. He does have actually a shoulder strap too, so really you could drape this over top of his shoulder. Just bring this around and just drape it around his torso like that. There is a lot of excess, as you can see, with the shoulder strap, so even when you're putting onto his torso, it's going to hang down pretty low. And again, we'll put the figure right there. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes included with this figure, and I can't wait to show you guys more. Again, let's just get his feet completely flat. There we go. The figure also comes included a swap out option. Instead of going with the backpack, he comes with a quiver of arrows. The actual arrows themselves have been painted with the feathers being more kind of a dark crimson red. And what's familiar, though, is they have an Arashikaji logo down below there. Now, there is a peg right here. I was trying to find what that belonged to, as there doesn't seem to be actually a designated hole for it unless you attach the quiver to the side. And I guess technically it could go to the side of the backpack if you wanted to as well. Just be careful that you don't drop it in the process. He gets also himself a pistol, which is molded nicely here in black plastic. Now this can either fit into his hands, or what you can also do as well is taking the existing backpack that I have, once again going to those pegs that are located on the side. You can actually take the point where the trigger finger will actually be, and that fits just into those pegs. So you can attach the pistol to the one side like this. The figure also comes included with a knife. And again, I can't help but notice that Zartan seems to be darkening in color. It comes included with like a hunting knife, which again can be held in his hands. I've yet to do this, so let's go ahead and do this right now. There you go. Can fit into his hand, or what you can also do as well with this figure is right located on the back. I'm going to maybe take the backpack off for this. It actually does have a little holster there on the side that can house the knife, and the knife just slides into place. The thing about the knife, though, is that you do really have to kind of get it around his torso, the bulk of the armor that he has on the top torso. But again, like the knife just slides in place like that. This may, though, impede a bit of the articulation, as when you're rotating the torso, you might inadvertently clip the top of the handle, although it does leave you enough space to work with, so that may not even be a problem. Let's go ahead, though, and take the knife out of the holster. It is a very tight quarter, though. Again, just pull that out. There we go. And we'll also put that to the side. Zartan also comes included to go along with that quiver of arrows, which actually we can take the quiver. Let's put it onto his back for the moment right now. Again, the hole isn't 100% lined up, but it's close enough. There we go. We can fit that in place. And then he does also come included with the bow. Now, the bow doesn't have a peg that I thought would have been there, which then would have attached to the back. There doesn't seem to be a large enough peg. There doesn't even really seem to be a peg that fits anywhere into that hole right there. But you can also take then the bow. I wanted to say the arrows, but you can take the bow. And also that fits into his hand too. All the times of fitting the accessories into his hand, though, involve me prying the fingers away from the palm. It's because the fingers, when you get them out of the packaging, it only comes with the one set of hands. You kind of have to really fight. See, I don't know if you can see what I mean here. The fingers are really close to the palm. So again, pry that out of the way. Get things all out of the way. And then you can take the bow and fit it into his hand. Not one of my favorite of the accessories he comes included with, but I mean, really, when you factor in all the other things that the figure comes packed along with, let's just put, again, the figure back down. He comes with a bunch of swappable head sculpts, too. The neat thing about this figure is not only does he come with swappable heads, but he also comes with swappable masks. For the swappable heads, though, he comes included with one that's of Snake Eyes. A classic visored Snake Eyes with a gray visor there, and he also comes with one that's Storm Shadow. And to change those head sculpts, I keep picking the figure back up here. Like I told you guys, there's a lot to really cover off here. Let's go ahead, remove the hood piece, pop the head back off. I guess we can kind of keep the collar there, the collar handkerchief there for the time being. If you want to pop in Snake Eyes' head sculpt, there we go. And I got to think that that would be the same head sculpt that we've gotten with also the Classified Series, or what will be getting the Classified Series Snake Eyes. I think Snake Eyes was a little bit different than that. But then you can go ahead and take the hood once again of Zartan and just fit that over top. It looks a bit strange that actually see Snake Eyes' head and then the hood of Zartan over top of it. But I guess there's that option if you wanted to go that route. And we'll do the exact same thing with Storm Shadow's head. Again, pops right onto the ball peg. There we go. And you can either go without the look or to finish off that look of Zartan, although I don't think, first of all, Storm Shadow's going to be wearing this outfit. Second of all, wearing a hood on top of his head probably will still give away the fact that this is still Zartan. But again, I love the fact that they include these things. Let's go back to Zartan's original head. There we go, which is seems to be the easiest to pop in above the three. And then he comes with a whole bunch of swappable faces. The one that really caught my attention was this one here. It's a mask that goes over top of his head. It's a very tight fit, I will say, so I will be a little more worrisome that perhaps it's going to start chipping the plastic or chipping the paint that's on his face. Like I said, it's a really tight fit. I don't think the intended plan is that the mask is supposed to go all the way down his head. It's supposed to give you just enough that it sort of lines the top of the teeth with the top of the lip. And he has that head sculpt there, which again, you can either go by itself or then put the hood over top of it. And you got Zartan with the skull mask. How cool is that? Other looks that you can go with for the character. Take this off. He gets 3 different swappable masks. One of the masks we had already received with the classified series, which I think it was this one right here. They're all softer plastic, by the way, and more than enough space to be able to fit over top of his head. And he has that one. He also has this one, which kind of looks like it would be a purge mask. A governor, perhaps, of some sort. And then there's also this mask here as well, which I like this one because it's got the scar running through the eye. And again, you can either go with or without the hood. But the hood certainly does finish the look, because if not for that, it would, I mean, certainly when you're seeing it from the side, it would look like he's just simply wearing a mask, and that's not as convincing. And of course, then you can go to the backpack, get this opened up once again, and inside you can house one of the masks. And then, of course, you can close that up. You know, I was looking at this, trying to think of who this reminded me of, and it kind of reminds me a bit of Mike Rooker. Maybe it's just me. And then from there, you can go ahead and close that up. It only houses one of the 3 masks, so it's entirely then to you which mask you'd like to have displayed inside. But again, just close that up, and then that could, of course, fit onto the back of the figure's torso, or you can also display him with the quiver, or I guess you can also then take the quiver like we did earlier, although it didn't stay as well in place, and then the quiver can attach to the side peg, which again doesn't really work very well, but at least it's a place to store it if you want to. Before we start changing Zartan's colors, when we get a closer look at the figure, now he works with extreme temperatures, whether it be hot or cold. I think I'm going to try to put him in the freezer, because I feel like that would be the thing that would last the longest on him. Now, of course, you can also put this guy outside with the sun exposing him like I would have done with the original 80s toys, but it's pretty cold outside right now. And not cold enough, I think, it would start affecting his skin. So I'm going to see if I can put this guy in the freezer instead. The body, like I said, and the head sculpt are the same as what we got with the original classified series. It would have been nice, playing into the color change treatment, that they gave him like a different torso piece. Part that you could just remove and then put back in place. Something that had that darker purple that you would have had in the original cartoon. Despite that, though, you can probably already see like his skin's getting a little bit darker under the studio light, but not to the extreme where I feel like it's going to change that really dark color I'm hoping for. While it is a modern take on Zartan, there's certainly enough classic elements going here, like the belly top torso armor that he has, not to mention, of course, the hood that he wears over top of his head. It's just such a great head sculpt. I really like the original one, and I'm loving the look of this one as well. It's very disturbing how creepy his eyes look. While I thought that they were solid colors, in actual fact, when you're seeing it close like this, they've painted not only the pupils, but also the irises, and they almost have like a slight veiny look to them. Almost like he's hypnotizing you. Like I said, the rest of the body does have the nice silver that they've added to the torso piece. Again, it would have been nice if they'd been able to have it where this could have removed. And again, it does have the shoulder parts that are actually attached to the torso piece, not the arms. So when it comes to the articulation of the figure that we'll talk about in a second, you don't have to worry about the shoulder pads being in the way of things. I love the sculpting of his gloves. The gloves are a slightly more shinier black than, say, the rest of his body. Of course, he does have the belt on the... I guess you could technically remove the belt, but it seems like it's glued right here. So while the front seems loose enough, the back is definitely affixed to something on his waist. So you can't really remove it unless you, I suppose, pried this right off. Again, when it comes to his pants, very much, even with these little pads that go on his legs, is very much like what the original Zartan would have had as well. Sculpting is pretty good on this, even like the texturing that they've done to the pants. And while there isn't really a lot of additional color that they've incorporated, the sculpting of the material of the pants looks really nice. Okay, I'm really anxious to get this guy changing colors. So let's have a look at the articulation here on Zartan. His head does rotate back and forth, even though I've got the hood really on it, and it's limiting a little bit of it. You can still have the figure looking head up, head down, back and forth, and yes, you can rotate back and forth this way as well. Upper torso is, well, it's not so much an upper torso. The torso itself is on a ball joint. He does have a crunch as well, although I've noticed the crunch on this figure is super tight. super, super tight, in fact. When it comes to his arms hinge out, not quite at a full 90 degrees, but a little less than that. And again, when it comes to moving his arms forward and back, you'll be happy to know at least the shoulder pads stay out of the way of things. It does have a swivel at the bicep. It does have a double hinge on the elbow, like the original one. And the hands also rotate all the way around. When it comes to his legs, the legs split out. Seems to be a ball joint working to connect the legs to the lower part of his torso. Legs go forward, legs go back. You may also have noticed, too, while moving his legs, you can actually drop the legs down. So that's how they look initially. You can bring the legs down, shimmy them down a little bit to give you a little bit of extra clearance when it comes to moving the legs for those higher kicks. And then you can just pop that back up. It does have a double hinge on the knee. He has articulation where the boot, of course, is attached to his lower calf. Feet go back and forth this way. They go back and forth this way. And the figure does have... No, actually, the figure doesn't have toe articulation. I thought for a second he did. Nice looking Zartan, though, all around. Of course, to get the full effect of what this guy looks like, I think what I'll do first, instead of just submerging him, because again, it's extreme temperatures, I suppose you could put in really icy water or really hot water, but I don't think I want to do anything like that that's going to affect the plastic on the figure. Instead, I'm going to experiment on it, and I'm going to put Zartan in the freezer for a while, getting those extreme cold temperatures happening. I'm going to see if that's enough to change the coloring of his plastic. Sitting in the freezer for just a little bit of time, you can already see how it's affected Zartan's skin. It affects both his head, his lower torso, and his arms. Now again, you could do this with extreme temperatures, so it could either be hot or cold. I just thought that cold would be quicker, and it certainly was. Just a little bit of time spent in the freezer, maybe even just a half hour or so, you can already see how it's changed Zartan's skin. There are a few little places like his elbows, for example. I'm not sure if it's just a different plastic, but it doesn't seem to change the color the same way as the rest of his body. And one of the certainly side effects of doing this in the freezer as opposed to doing this outside is any little bit of warmth that comes from your skin. So say, for example, I take my thumb and I rest against Zartan's skin here. You can already see, yeah, the little bit of warmth reverts it back to its original color. But it seems to stay pretty long this way. Again, mileage may vary whether you have this guy outside and having it under direct sunlight. It probably would last a little bit longer, I think, because even if you're going to be holding it with your hands are already hot. Putting it, though, in the freezer, like I said, is probably the quickest route to get him to change this color. And just for fun, what we'll do is we'll also take off the hood. Now, the hood was on him this whole time, but as you can see, it still managed to penetrate through the hood of plastic and still managed successfully to change the coloring on the rest of his body. I think that's such a fun gimmick that Hasbro incorporated to this figure. Something I wish that really the original Zartan could have possessed, as you can certainly see my finger pressing against his face. But even just pressing against his face, you can certainly see how he's still, yes, the cold still takes claim of the rest of his face, and you can see it kind of starts changing back to being blue. The only thing I would have loved that this figure could have also done as well, mentioned earlier into this review, is if he could have had swappable panels. Things on his legs, things on his torso, for example, that would have also shown that sun effect as he's being exposed to sunlight. But other than that, job well done, Hasbro, of giving us a Zartan that actually has his skin-changing, his color-changing skin color here. I'm sure as the new G.I. Joe Classified Series skin-changing Zartan spins around here in the rotisserie, he's probably going to start reverting back to his regular, warmer skin tone. But we can certainly appreciate the fact he's got that dark, very dark navy blue skin as of right now, simply just because, again, I exposed him to the very bitter cold of my freezer. It's not super bitter cold, but it's cold enough, certainly, to change his skin, a very nice blue color. And again, you can do this outside as well with direct sunlight. But if you want the most direct and quickest route to changing his skin this blue color, I would recommend the freezer. Just as you're holding the figure in your hand, though, the heat, the warmth coming from your fingertips will certainly revert this guy a lot faster because, again, you're putting hot onto cold. Well, you get the idea. That's science. That's science for you. Fantastic figure. Still essentially getting the same G.I. Joe Classified Series Zartan as what we had gotten before, although he does get a few extra additional goodies, some face masks and swappable head sculpts that weren't there in that initial release. I think the price of admission for this guy is clearly the fact that his skin changes color like this. Again, something that I wish that the original Classified Series Zartan could have had, but it does benefit having that original Zartan and now getting this one, as this one does have the perks of having the skin changing color like this. Big thank you, though, to the folks over at Hasbro that provided the sample of the brand new G.I. Joe Classified Series skin-changing Zartan that we could have a look at in this review. He's still blue as a Smurf. If you guys are new to this channel, enjoying the content you're seeing, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and yes, keep your peepers peeled to this channel, because there will be more Hasbro reviews coming your way in the not-so-distant future. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.